all.
Oh, wow.
And then she was like, "Do you want them?" So me and Carrie and my boys, we went and we met her when we were down at my parents' place for Easter.
Yeah.
And then we had a really nice talk. She told me all these really personal details about her life that were like crazy.
Yeah.
Like I was like, "Wow, you were like a roller coaster girl." Like
dodge that bullet.
Yeah, she had like a baby. I was like,
Oh.
"You got a baby? Like,
You
whose baby is this?" It's like, "Well, I was in this." I don't know. I should say all this stuff, but like, but she was in this. Well, I didn't say her name, did I?
Nope.
Okay, so she was like, "Oh yeah, I was in this like, what do you call it when you're with more than one partner?
Polygamous.
Polygamy. Yeah, but they weren't married.
No,
Anyways,
you don't have to be married to be
no?
polygamous.
Polyamorous. I think yeah. So they're in a polyamorous relationship with someone, and then the guy got her pregnant, and then he pieced out, and so there was like her. She's a little younger than me, and then they were also in a relationship with this like 21-year-old stripper, and then he chose the stripper over her and his own son.
Yeah,
it's kind of a D-bag, right? But it was like, yeah, but it was really nice. She's like opening up, telling us about her life, and then I'm talking about it on a podcast, and then and then we're like telling her about, and it was like this really nice moment. I almost thought like, I think she's gonna be like a friend, you know. And anyway, but she gave me all these tapes. This is the point I'm trying to make. She gave me all these tapes, and holy crap, they're all crappy songs.
Yeah.
Hundreds of crappy songs. She gave me a huge thing full of tapes.
Yeah.
Hundreds of crappy songs. All bad.
Yeah.
All like hard to listen to.
Not like one where you're like, well, that was pretty good. Like,
yeah. Sometimes there'd be good melodies every once in a while.
Yeah, like a good line here or there.
But
that's the thing about
mostly all crap.
That's the thing about getting better is when you keep at it and you get better and you go back to your old notebooks and all your old poems, you're like, well, thank God I got better. But at the same time, like, I sucked balls. Like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Like, these are not good poems.
Sure.
I'm glad I didn't submit these to the that literature magazine.
Yeah. It is crazy. Like, you do need to put that time in.
You need to put the time in.
But also, it's like, I think you need to be... Because why would you put 10,000 hours in if you're at 5,000 hours... and you realize how crappy you are? There is this is why it's so tough, because there's a certain level of, I remember like when I was 16 and but I remember when I was 16, I showed this girl this song and I was like so convinced that this was like the freaking greatest song ever. And I showed it to her and she's like, yeah, not very good. And I was like, whoa. And I remember I showed her, I was like, did you see this line? This line where I said, and this was the line, you got to think all about love and hate, hope and doubt. I was like, did you read that?
That's a genius. Soaking off the pages.
I thought it was amazing. And then like, then I found out it wasn't. But anyways, okay, so a big thing this film is about, Paddleton is about deep male platonic relationships. So, which is like which I thought was like kind of like a really fascinating thing to watch, because they're two guys, they're single, and they have a really close relationship with each other that's like not sexual whatsoever. People always think they're gay just because they're two dudes together. Yeah,
my girlfriend kind of turned to me in the beginning of the movie and asked me, you know, are they gay men? And I'm like, I don't know. I guess we're gonna figure it out pretty soon here.
Yeah.
And no, it's like two men that have trouble being social, but they've found each other.
Yeah.
Like I think that with the character Mike talks about how he was married and then I don't want to spoil it, but
you gotta spoil it, man.
Yeah. Well, I started, I got to finish. And that he decided to leave or felt he should leave and then left her. And then at some point during that process, he said, well, like, I must be alone. Like, I have to be born to be alone. And then I met you. Yeah. And I think that's when he met Andy, the character Andy.
Yeah.
And I don't know what was the glue or that kept the like what was the bonding agent for these two men. Maybe it was the fact that they had such a hard time creating, because they one thing that they talk about in the film is how they don't like small talk.
Right.
And like, I don't like small talk either, but I'm capable of it. And it seemed like these guys were almost incapable of having just a small talk conversation.
Yeah.
And
I hate small talk too. I related to that.
Can't stand it. But I think that's what I hate worst about going to the grocery store, is that you run into people and you have to like squeeze out like a minute of small talk.
Yeah.
But
it's always the same old shit.
That,
how was your summer? Pretty good. Did you guys get away? I'm falling into... I just said all those words with no effort. I didn't feel myself talking. That's how like... Whoa, whoa. It's it's like the... It's the autopilot of conversation, small talk, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah. But with these two men in this film, that they found each other, and that it wasn't a sexual relationship, but it was just a real relationship that they had found, that they built together. But that and I was expecting. I mean, a lot of times with Netflix or in the current year, you will find more movies made about more liberal type of ideas.
Sure.
Like you'll see a lot more quote like woke stuff. You know what I mean? Like acceptance.
And just so the audience knows, me and Garrett are really close friends, but I'm super left wing and he's super right wing. So it's like it's an interesting relationship, but we both really like each other a lot.
Yeah. Close friends, but not close in politics. Yeah. So that's something as like a far right extremist that I've realized is that
I don't mean So I just mean like I didn't mean that as an insult.
No, I didn't take it as an insult. But you would agree with me that in the current year you do see more quote unquote woke art than you do 15 years ago.
Do you think this is that?
No, and that's why I think when I started watching the film, I went, okay, this is going to be a movie like about like everybody humps Raymond or something, but it wasn't, and
and I do, and it is such like a different male friend movie, because it really like. Once you watch this, you realize how bad other male friend movies are failing.
The bromance films?
Yeah. You realize it's like all other male like bromance films are just like, let's go party, get some pussy, and what's the other thing that is always in those films? It's like or it's an action film, so like, let's go dominate and kill, and like kind of all these like things that are just like hyper masculine that like are like not actually like real male relationships at all.
Well, I was watching it wasn't an Adam Sandler movie, but it was he produced it. It was like Happy Madison Productions.
Yeah.
And somebody said something like, let's party. And then the camera pans back and there's a crowd cheering.
Yeah.
And you see like one guy just holding a skateboard and it was moving up and down. And I'm like, that was placed there. And it was placed there to be like an over, just like, well, we need to represent like the masculine type of demographic, and it's just
fist pumping with a skateboard. That'll do it.
Yeah, in films like do a terrible job at representing masculinity. I don't want to say that because this movie's not masculine, but it's
but it's male relationships.
Male relationships, yeah. And this film does a pretty decent job at it. And
there's that line where she says, where the lady at the hotel, she says, "Oh, we could tell you guys were so in love," and then they're like, "The moment we saw you," and they're like, "Oh, we're not gay." But in the same token, you're kind of like, they are in love. Are they not in love? Do they not love each other? They do love, not in a sexual way.
To get into semantics, like, I love you, Dustan, but I'm not in love with you. I'm in love with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
So in love is just kind of one of those things.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I remember like I was roommates with this guy. We were really close, and And I remember we were like, let's take back this word making love, because making love isn't sex. True love is when you do things for people, is when you're there for them. Mm-hmm. So in this movie, it would be like, when he's like sitting with him when he's like throwing up in the toilet, that would be making love, because it's like so we had this thing, but it did not catch on, where we would just be like, I'd be washing Mike's dishes, and someone would call like, "What you doing?" It's like, just making love to Mike.
Making
and they're like, what?
Steamy?
What? You're doing what with Mike? I was like, just making love to Mike. I'm washing the dishes for him. And that's an act of love. So
yeah. In the same,
it did not catch on though. Just confused people.
In the same Sandler movie I watched last night, it said she said that kindness is just love with work boots. And I thought that was a little cheesy, but
I don't agree. True. I think kindness is like just pretending.
Kindness is having small talk at the superstore.
Yeah. I think love is the action, and kindness is just like the
smile you put on it.
It's like the political element of love.
Oh, I see.
The political element of wanting to be seen as someone who. Well, I mean, maybe that's wrong, because then people do truly kind things like, wash lepers' feet and stuff. But truly kind things. But then, I think in our culture, kindness is just like, don't say anything mean, and just be like... Oh,
that's another thing I want to talk about. We're going to go on a million rabbit holes here.
This is a rabbit...
But the hyper...
Okay, rabbit hole or rabbit trail? Because rabbit trail is a trail that goes somewhere else. A rabbit hole is like things about to get trippy, like Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, we're not going deep inside the rabbit hole here. Okay. We're just going to take a detour and come right back.
So we're on the rabbit trail, okay.
Yeah, the hyper politeness of a Canadian citizen, or I don't know, I can't speak to the Torontonians or the Vancouver people.
Yeah, but that's its own culture for sure.
But in prairie culture, there's this... okay, here's my example, and then we'll get back to the podcast.
Okay.
But this has happened twice, and the second time was today, where I'm leaving to do three things. I'm going to the grocery store or to work or wherever. Right. I have 2 big bags of garbage that I'm taking out because my girlfriend's like, the garbage stinks. And I'm like, let me do something kind and take the garbage out. But at the same time, I'm going somewhere else, so I'm finding a podcast to listen to and putting my earbuds in. Yeah. So there's this long hallway that you can imagine. There's doors on either side, and then out of one of these doors, I can hear somebody like lock their door, and like they keep heading for the door to go downstairs.
Oh, and did you live in an apartment?
I live in an apartment complex, if I didn't mention that.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I live in an apartment complex, and I'm leaving my apartment, and I lock the door behind me, and I have my garbage bags, and I got my phone, and I'm picking which podcast I want to listen to, putting my earbuds in, and like 100 feet, I don't know if I'm long ways, all the way down the hallway, there's this person, and they're holding the door open for me, like being polite, right? Yeah. But that's causing me to be like, oh shit, now I really got to be fast and pick my podcast so I can grab these heavy ass bags and like kind of run down this thing so this person doesn't have to hold the door open for me forever.
Yeah.
And the second time I said, that's all right, like go, and which caused me to be rude. Their politeness pulled the rudeness from me. Yeah. And I feel like there's a hyper politeness that happens.
But I might say that letting people be kind to you is sometimes work.
Yeah.
And that's okay, right?
Which is rude of them.
They should just be like, you're on your own, fucker. Get your own door.
Yeah. Exactly. And and the first time I was like, okay, just go. Like, I don't need the door. She's like, what's the matter? Wouldn't you let me help you? Like,
she said that?
Yeah, and she's like, oh, no. Hello, like I'm holding the door for you, and I'm like, just go, lady, like. And she's being rude, so kind.
Not.
I think it's rude.
No. That's
you're walking. You're gonna jaywalk, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna walk across the street, and this lady in her car is like stopped in the middle of the street.
Is it actually a lady, or are you just?
It could have been a man.
Okay.
Could have been a man that identifies as a lady, but they stopped to let me jaywalk, which is illegal. And now there's a car behind them and a car behind them, and they're
That
all
is
waiting.
annoying. Yeah.